to another episode of The Amanda Hill Show. Hello everybody. Well, here we are. This is episode number 20 at the time of recording. It's July 2019. And, actually, before we get in, I do want to mention that it is a crazy winter's day here in Frankston. So I apologise if there's any background noise. I've just settled in to get all cozy and comfy. I always have a little ritual before the podcast, just to make sure I can emit that sense of safety and comfort. So I've got my heat pack, my lemon and ginger tea. I've been burning some Palo Santo, and I've just dropped into that space of presence. So I welcome you to join me in that, and maybe we'll just tune in with a breath together. So wherever you're at, taking that moment to breathe into your belly, a nice full breath. As you exhale, just letting go completely, and perhaps 2 more of those in your own time. Just allowing the shoulders to relax. Arriving at that sense of ease with your open mind and your open heart. So nice to be with you, as always. I have some news which some of you will be aware of. I checked the numbers for my podcast for the first time. So we are celebrating a year of the podcast as of, a couple of weeks ago. And if you've been listening in, you will have known that I have had no idea how many people are listening in. And upon checking, I discovered that there's actually 900 people listening each month. So hello. Hello everybody. My mind can't quite comprehend that, but yes, hello to each and every one of you. And I really owe a big thank you to, in particular, all of you that have ever told a friend about the Amanda Hill Show or shared on your socials. You have managed to share it very far and very wide. So thank you so much for your support from the bottom of my heart. And another thank you goes to all of you who have left your ratings and your reviews on the Apple Podcast app, because as of now there are actually 80 ratings and countless heartfelt reviews. And in celebration of that, I've decided to start a new segment on the show, which is a listener shout out. Now, this is when my radio presenter vibes really kick in. I'll be reading out one of your reviews each episode to thank you so much and to give a shout out to that beautiful person. So today's first listener shout out comes from the beautiful Zoe Adams, and Zoe has said, "Mandy is a blessing. Cannot describe how much I adore this podcast. Her voice is so calming and relatable, and she is always so real and authentic with so many valuable lessons learned. I feel like I get that aha moment from every ep." Thank you so much, Zoe, and I hope that today brings you another aha. I know exactly the moments you're talking about. Okay, so today's ep, I'm going to be sharing with you this concept that if you happen to have worked with me one-on-one or in a group setting, you're probably quite familiar with, and a little hi to all of you listening in. And if not, I'm really excited for you to receive the relief, the exhale, the softening that it will allow. And before we get in, the last exciting thing that I'm going to share with you today is at the end of the ep, I'm going to share with you my upcoming course, my latest online course, which is Boundaries Are Beautiful. So sit tight for that. Really looking forward to telling you more about it. Okay, so this particular teaching around collecting data, I was personally doing the groundwork for many years ago, and I'm still doing it. You know, it doesn't just stop. But while I was doing mycotherapy, so yeah, I did the groundwork myself, but it's really through mentoring others that I've been able to conceptualize this and articulate it in a way that I've noticed it have a profound effect on the way people go about their personal development, or how they go about making changes in their life and how they're able to go gently with themselves. So my regular listeners will know that many years ago I experienced chronic fatigue, and mycotherapy was a key instigator to reclaiming my health and empowering myself to know that basically I was the creator of all experiences in my life. And so part of this therapy was me keeping a very detailed account of each of my symptoms. So this was on the basis that our emotional health greatly affects our physical health, and I also believe vice versa. And so each day that any symptoms arose, I had to make note of it and then also make note of what had happened earlier in the day. So I became this investigator, looking at what may have triggered a symptom to occur for my body to be in a state of dis-ease and disharmony. So once I joined the dots as to what had happened, that cause and effect, it would then be taking action. So this is where the empowerment comes in, is like I had 3 choices to make, which was number 1, maybe I needed to introduce some joy. Number 2, maybe I needed to establish an appropriate boundary. Or number 3, maybe I needed to communicate my needs effectively. And sometimes it would be, 2 and 3, or 1 and 3, or all of them. Or sometimes it would just be 1. But through doing this, it wasn't as though one day I was chronically stressed and unwell and the next day I wasn't. This was such a work in progress over months and months. And because for me personally, I'd never really thought prior to that about boundaries. Like I actually had not consciously thought about putting any in place. Nor was I really comfortable with speaking up for myself. So this tested me daily. But I threw myself into the task. So on the whole, I was making more empowered choices and my health was improving, but every now and then something would trip me up and I'd fall back into an old habit. And still now for that matter, because we're always learning and evolving, and as we evolve, our boundaries change, what brings us joy changes, and we change. So we are always on this journey of learning how to adapt to what our soul really yearns for at that point of our evolution. And so yes, every now and then I'd fall off the bandwagon. Maybe I wouldn't communicate in the way I would have liked to, or I'd loosen a boundary I thought that I was really strong on, or I'd forget to incorporate something that brought me joy in my day. And the reason this can be really frustrating is because when we know better and then we don't act better, there's a disconnect, and we get really frustrated. Like, oh, why couldn't I do that? I know that boundary is good for me, or I know that meditating every day is good for me, or all those little things. But yeah, I was still keeping track. So what I was developing was data. So on a page in front of me, I was filling out this, I think it was like an Excel spreadsheet or something, with all this data of how my energy was each day, what choices I'd made, etc. So I had it on that page in front of me, but I also had it in my body. Now, stay with me here. This is where it gets really good. Okay. So let me explain this difference. When I first started taking these actions and making these changes, I was flying blind. Now, what I mean by that is I was trusting others who had said, making these changes will improve your physical well-being and happiness. You know, is what other people had said. I didn't know that it would for me. I was hoping with all of my being that it would, but I really did not know yet whether it would work for me or not. So I only had that knowledge from a cognitive level and extrinsically as well. So someone else saying, this could work for you. So as I got further in and was collecting my data, I had evidence as to how it was working. So time and time again, I was reflecting on how having a conversation that, this is an example, how if I was having a conversation that in the past I dread and just put to the side, I was noticing how having it would relieve my nervous system and then allow more energy to be freed up. Or how, another example, how injecting joy into my everyday would allow my cup to overflow. So I was learning how it felt in my body to do these things. So it was starting to come from an intrinsic place of feeling, not just knowing or guessing or hoping or hypothesizing from the mind, but actually feeling in my body how these actions, how these changes felt to my energetic state. Okay, I'm just going to have a tea break because I'm getting really into this. I hope this is landing. Okay, so I had that feeling of when I was making the changes that I wanted to, how that felt. And then when I fell off the bandwagon, you know, when I didn't speak out for myself, when I forgot my boundaries, when I forgot my joy, when I forgot to meditate, when I didn't make time for yoga or time to be alone, I was gathering the feeling in my body of how that felt. So not just collecting data on what had, in quotation marks here, a positive impact, but also the things that, in quotation marks again, had a negative impact. And this doesn't, I just want to make a note here, it doesn't have to be through keeping data physically. So you don't have to keep an Excel spreadsheet. This can just be through meditation, through journaling, or through your reflections. Or, you know, sitting and having a cuppa at the end of the day and reflecting on how your day went and what's working and what's not. That is collecting data too. I'm not just talking about physically writing down. We are collecting data always through our experiences and through our reflections. So, if you will, let me tell you why this is so important to collect data of all experience, because sometimes we can really have our blinkers on. It's only worthwhile when I do the thing, when I make the positive changes. The rest of it I need to be ashamed of. I need to hide away. The whole spectrum of experience is so valuable. This is valuable data, because when we know how we feel in it, and we also know how we feel out of it, quotation marks, we can then make decisions from an embodied place. Now, this word embodiment or embodied gets thrown around a lot, but to me, everyone will have their own meaning. To me, it's when we're able to move from the body. So embodied in the body, knowing how things feel in our body, not just hypothesizing, which, and I do want to say here, is whenever we're first making a change, it is from that cognitive level. When we're going into it, it's from the head. We're like, okay, I think this is going to be good for me. But it's only after we've done that for a period of time that do we have enough data, enough experience for it to settle in our bones and to come to our own conclusion with it. So this is what I share with my clients when they come to me saying, oh my God, I fucked up. Like, I went straight back to my old habits. Like, I slipped for a week, or I missed my meditation, or whatever it is. I explain this to them, and I offer space and ask them, okay, so how did it feel in your body not to do those things? Because if it felt better not to do it, let's be real here. We need to chat more about whether that is a positive change for you to make. Because in this personal development world, it's very noisy, and there's a lot of, you should do this, you should do that, this will make you feel XYZ. But a lot of the time when people are saying that, they're saying, this is what made me feel XYZ. It's not necessarily what's going to make someone else feel that way. And a very real example of that is, like, some people, meditation is their medicine. For others, it might be surfing. It's like that's their thing. If they don't go surfing, they're going to just be a wreck or be frazzled or not feel like themselves. The person who is really into surfing and that's their medicine, why should they meditate? Should they meditate? These are just questions I'm offering up here, and just opening the lens of coming to really think about bio-individuality. Like, there's more ways that we're similar than different, but there's ways that people are different and they need to be honoured. And there's seasons of life that we go through. So some seasons we're like, yeah, need to surf every day. And then there's another season where it's like, you know what, I just need to meditate for like an hour every day and get really in with myself. And plenty of other examples there. You guys know what I'm talking about. So this is where personal discernment comes in, and non-attachment too. So acknowledging that what worked for you last year might not be working for you now. So sometimes when we've declared to ourselves or declared to others as well, if we say, oh, I go to yoga 5 days a week, we feel like something in us that's like, okay, I need to do that for the rest of my life or I've failed. And it's really dangerous because it doesn't make space for the changes we go through and the fact that we're human as well. So speaking of yoga, it's actually this concept that I would love to, if I had the time, to explain to my yoga students, because if I had a penny for the number of people that have said to me over the years, oh my God, I feel so terrible or guilty or ashamed, whatever, insert heavy vibration there. I haven't been to yoga in a week or a month or, whatever period of time it is. And when this happens, I want to sit down with them and inquire why, but it's not the time or the place, so I don't divulge into this. But in my head, I'm like, all right, let's do a mentoring series and move this for you, because guilt and shame are probably the heaviest emotions that we can carry. And a quick reframe can be simply to observe from the lens of loving kindness rather than judgment, to observe, okay, why was it that week I didn't get to yoga? Without judgment, that's really important. And being open to what that answer is. So, did I miss it? Did I feel different in my body? Was I not as present in my life? Was it beneficial for me not to do yoga that week? Like, was there other things going on, and was it just I needed to do what I needed to do at that point in time? So being able to simply notice, this is like the next level, is noticing both experiences and then allowing the next decision to be made from embodiment. Knowing that our worth is not attached to what we do. So the things that we do, our worth is not attached to that. We have a level of worth for existing, okay? And then when we know that, and we always remind ourselves of that, this is a practice. When we remind ourselves our worth is not, or as an affirmation for you now listening in, my worth is not attached to what I do or don't do. I am worthy because I exist. Yeah, it feels a bit nicer. If we can come back to that and then still have the reflection, still have the accountability, but coming from a place of observing. It's just like in meditation when we watch the thoughts, the feelings, or the practice of watching them and not judging what's unfolding. Same for the actions or for what we watch ourselves doing in our life. Becoming really curious, really interested. Like, okay, that was interesting. I was doing yoga for 4 weeks. It was going really well. And then I didn't for 1 week. Like, I'm really curious what happened there, What was it that made me make that choice? And just being open to the answer, which might be, it was just better for me that week not to. I had a lot of things going on, or whatever it is. But this is not a get out of jail free card. So this is not something for our victim to take hold of and go, okay, it was just too hard. And probably wasn't a good example before when I said, there was just too much stuff going on, because that's an excuse to me. If that was me inquiring with myself, I would get really real and say, Mandy, I think that was a bit of an excuse. But only we can do that with ourselves. I'm not the person to do that for you. Only we know when it was fear or excuses at play, or whether it was just something that dropped away because it wasn't working. So then we have to think about, okay, is it time to get back on the horse, or is it time to course correct, to pivot, to make another choice? And only you know in your heart of hearts. So I really believe in that level of accountability, but I don't believe in berating ourselves. And feel the difference there? Coming from self-love, those embodied choices. We know how it felt in our body to do it. We know how it felt in our body not to. For example, we know how it feels to practice boundaries. And maybe then we fall off for a few weeks and we're like, oh, haven't had any boundaries in place. And then we sit with ourselves and go, okay, let's look at the data. How did I feel when I was practicing them? How did I feel when I wasn't? And then that next choice coming from deep self-love. My inkling is that it probably felt better having boundaries in place, right? If I speak from my personal experience. So then if it was me, that next embodied choice, okay, it's time to put some more boundaries in place. Coming from that place of self-love, not from the place of, oh, what the fuck, I didn't do it for 3 weeks or whatever. And sometimes that's how the dialogue starts, because we all have a inner critic that's very loud at times. But then how quickly can you bring yourself back in? This is the work. How quickly can you come back to noticing, to reflection, to observing, to self-love, yeah? So this is why I say maybe you're not fucking up. Maybe you don't need to be guilty. Maybe you're collecting the data that will inform your future choices to be made from deeper waves of self-love, self-trust, and embodiment. Pretty epic, hey? And I've found bringing humour in to be really helpful with this. So when I catch myself, speaking down, speaking negatively towards myself, for not doing whatever I'd set out to do, it's like reminding yourself, oh, girl, you've just been collecting some data. It's like, oh, wow, you just collected some great data that was not right, that didn't feel good for you. All right, we've collected some data. Let's go away and let's make another choice, So, yeah, bringing this in can help it just feel a bit lighter, because we're not going to decide something one day and then stick to it for the rest of our lives. I'm sorry. That is just, to me, I don't know. To me, that is impossible because of all the quirks that we have as humans. So looking at the approach of collecting data, we're always collecting it, learning through our experiences, and then when we know better, we choose better, and when we feel better, we choose better from the place of embodiment. So keep this in your back pocket for those times when the inner critic gets really loud, like, oh, you didn't go to yoga, you didn't practice boundaries, you didn't make time for yourself, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, come back into yourself, into your body, into a breath, yeah. Reflect. And then inquire, okay, now that I've got this data, what's my next obvious step from that place? And I believe this is really lasting change that we can create. Change doesn't happen overnight, but when we collect enough data, it can happen over time, yeah. All right, so let's talk about boundaries are beautiful. The inspiration for this course came from the course I ran earlier in the year, which was Claiming Sensitivity as a Superpower. And one of the day's topics resonated a lot. So because in that course, the emails went out each day with a different theme around embracing sensitivity, one of the days was about boundaries, and that night I got an email back from over half of the people taking the course saying things like, oh my gosh, I so need this, give me more. Or even, I didn't want to open this email, but I know I really need to. Things like that as well. So I know this is a big one for, all my sensitive, intuitive empaths out there. So I've created it for all of you in mind. So I'm going to be sharing it next week on my socials, but I thought it would be fun to give you guys a special sneak peek to all of you. And little secret, it's actually live. I don't know why I started whispering, but I am. It's actually live on my website already. And going to start talking normal words again. You can even book your spot if you feel the call. You can book it now. It's already up on my website, so you can have a little sneak peek. It starts August the 5th. So if it sings to you, make a note now that enrollments close the 2nd of August, because I don't want any of you to miss out on this. So boundaries is something that is thrown around a lot. I'm really passionate about this course for so many reasons, but one of them being I want to actually provide tangible examples, like what boundaries are. I'm going to be sharing with you guys, okay, these are some of the boundaries I have in place in my life, and then giving you the space to explore what they might look like for you. Whilst it will absolutely be requiring you to show up and to step up into this, I want to be really clear here, because as I said, I've made this with my sensitive babes in mind, and I want you to know that this is not a course that will rip your base from under you, in which you tell everyone in your life to fuck off. No, this is the real world, and less is more. We will be exploring just one theme per week and really diving into this in an integrated way that's not going to shock you or... I'm so excited to show people that boundaries are actually beautiful and that they can be really challenging. Like, this is the hardcore inner work, but over time they actually get easier. And I think there's going to be so much power in being part of a group of people where we're all looking to create boundaries, and we're all looking to create that norm that boundaries are beautiful. Because often when we're first, not even first, always, like, boundaries are not a thing of the majority in our society. So this is what some of my clients say to me is like, I've got to be the one to show my friends or to show my family. And that can be really challenging. So I think there's going to be a lot of power in being part of a group of people and having that support whilst you're feeling into this and making some really beautiful changes for yourself. So the format of the course is that you'll receive the content via email 2 days of the week, and we'll also have a Facebook group so that we can learn and grow together. And you, as I said, you can feel really supported whilst you make these positive changes. And we'll also have 2 90-minute group calls where we can dive deeper together. And I'll also be jumping in for videos and further explanations in our Facebook group too. So in terms of the themes, a little overview. Week 1, we're looking at self-worth. It's the backbone to your boundaries. Week 2, speaking your truth. So strengthening and really opening the throat chakra. Week 3, personal discernment. So I mentioned this today. Your intuition as boss. So really navigating your own blueprint with your boundaries. It looks different for everybody. And week 4, backing yourself. So rituals to support your boundaries. This is way beyond the course things that you can take with you. So I'm so pumped and so hope that you will join me for this. If you've been following along for some time, wanting to take a leap, keen to have the experience of working with me more closely, and of course an incredible group that I know will come together for this, this could be the perfect opportunity. So the cost of the 4-week course is $297. And as I said, you can actually enroll as of now. So just head to www.amandahill.com.au/boundaries are beautiful. And I'll pop the link in the show notes as well. So you can read through what I've written on the website and see if it really resonates with you. And just remember that fear is often present when we're on the cusp of growth and expansion. So if you get that yes to be part of this, I'm going to invite you to join me and our group of loving, fierce women who are ready to ground into a new paradigm of what boundaries actually are and how they can so positively influence your life and the life of those around you as well. Okay, so thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in today. As I said, be sure to head to my website and check out the Boundaries Are Beautiful course. Make a note that enrollments close 2nd of August. So if you feel called, don't miss out on this opportunity to embody a new level of self-worth. And we weren't meant to do this alone. So doing this together is, I know, going to be so supportive for those who jump in. So yeah, showing up for your higher self never felt so good. Okay, well, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day or evening, and thanks again for tuning in.